guys, I'm so excited by tonight's episode. We had a great chat, Niall and I, with Matthew Wemyss. He called us from Bucharest to take part in the podcast. He is the assistant director of a Cambridge school in Bucharest, but what is fascinating about what Matthew's done is he's implemented a kind of refreshed curriculum with AI chatbots there to support almost as teaching assistants. He's taken a great deal of time and care over all the governance, but let's jump in and hear all about it because it really is a great chat. Hey, it's Pam here. Welcome to the Digitize Fully Charged Podcast. I'm really excited today to introduce our guest, Matthew Wemyss. Matthew's coming to us today from Romania, where he is in Bucharest, I believe. Well, I don't know if you're in Bucharest right now, but Matthew is assistant school director at the Cambridge School in Bucharest. So welcome, Matthew. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm joined as ever, of course, by Niall as well. And yeah, I think the best person to tell us about Matthew is probably Matthew. So I'm going to hand over to you now, Matthew. Welcome.
No, thank you for having me. And you can tell that this is not a Romanian accent. This is this is from Stoke in the UK. So yeah, I'm from the UK. And I moved over to Romania about 8 years ago as I had that international teaching flavor. I met someone who's now my wife, who's half Romanian. We've been here, visited the place, so we knew it very well. But I cut my teeth teaching in Tottenham about 16 years ago. I started teaching, so I did 7 years there. Now 8 years over here.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell us about that. Yeah. What's the Romanian education experience like?
It's been fantastic, to be honest, because I'm in a British overseas school. So I'm working, basically when I arrived, they were an international school and I was I'd been assistant director at my school in Tottenham. And then when I moved over here, they wanted to become a British school. So I came in as the head of computer science. So I took a bit of a downwards trajectory from assistant head to head of computer science. When I moved over here, but then very quickly they needed a bit of help getting their head around. It's not Ofsted, but you know what I mean, how to be inspected, how to get all the policies and procedures in place. There's a lot of routine and lots of paperwork that comes with being British, and lots of acronyms that I had to explain to people.
I never thought about that. Who does your inspections then? Is it the Romanian kind of government?
We have ISI, so there's ISI, Penta, I believe, and think one more, maybe CIS or. I'm probably getting that last one wrong. But there's a couple that are Ofsted approved and they go out on behalf of the British government and come and inspect us. I think if you're a private school in the UK, you'll probably get ISI or one of Penta or something. But we just get seen by them internationally.
What's is it the international baccalaureate that you do, or is it
we
A-level?
Do both. So we came in on Key Stage 3. So we were originally national curriculum. And it was like a version of that. Then we went directly linked to that when we became a British school. And that was running all the way through, doing A-levels. Cambridge School of Bucharest we were doing the Cambridge international exams years ago. That was way before I arrived. But then recently, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, might be 3 years ago, we introduced the IBDP. So we now have a dual pathway of A-level and IBDP. So everyone does up to IGCSE. And then they go, depending on their profile, sometimes university, destination, country, whatever suits the students best. So it's just giving some options and a bit of freedom at that top end.
And see, in terms of the campus, like, is that like, so is it kind of state of the art? Is there a lot of like, I mean,
it's new. It's like, and I think I would say it was because it's quite near because it's on the outskirts, it's quite near the airport. Well, it's not very near the airport, but it was used for about 20 minutes away from the airport, but it was used for construction of airplane parts. So the big building we're in, essentially, when I first arrived, they stripped everything out. And we've got the wire frame of the old factory. And then there's another So the two buildings that are there originally, the ones we're in now, the primary and secondary pretty much are split. Are two factories repurposed. One's got a huge chimney running up the side of it. We kept that. But the other ones, the architects have gone a little bit more avant-garde and a bit more fun. Like every time they build a new building, it gets a bit weirder and a bit more shapes and a few more bits of glass and a few more colors.
Sure.
So yeah, so by the time, it's good, yeah, and it's been nice because I think I arrived and I had 10 computers and it was in the basement, and now I've got 2 IT labs, 3D printers, VR glasses.
Yes, see,
like,
that's
cool,
what I was. That's where I was headed. I was like, right, you're a tech guy. Tell us about your tech. So yeah,
so it's just
VR
been one of
labs.
those things where we haven't got like. It sounds like a lot, but to me, I don't think it's a lot because I know I speak to some schools or I go to presentations. We've tried to keep our EdTech suite like lean because I know it can become really complicated and tried to have like whatever we can connect to our MIS or connect to T, like make everything connect, make everything talk. So in terms of platforms, we're quite lean because we've just tried to pick the ones that work. And then in terms of tech, again, aligned it to the curriculum. And say, for example, when we bought the VR glasses, we went for something like Class VR, mainly because it's easy for teachers. Like you could go and buy the Metas or wherever, like the Samsung, but actually getting something on them is quite probably quite challenging for a non-techie teacher, where Class VR is like drag and drop. Yeah. And then you can see what the kids are looking through of interface. So like we tried to keep everything pretty straightforward for the teachers.
Can you talk us through Class VR? So a lot of schools up here haven't had experience of using VR headsets within their classes. So how do your classes use the VR headsets? How do you go around finding lessons? What do you do to build those immersive worlds that the students will be exploring?
So
tell us about the portal.
So everything's aligned to the curriculum in there. So you've got basically subject things that you can click on and go inside, and everything's aligned to the national curriculum. And then you can also search and find wherever you like. But they've got mapping pages and pages of documents. In fact, probably too much to give people.
Sure.
So we, myself, the teaching and learning leads for primary and secondary, tried to map some things out just to get people going. And again, the difference between something like Class VR and Meta, a while back, it's getting better now. Like you would take, the trade-off was the experiences weren't as like beautiful and resed and things like that. Sure. Like there was a little bit lower quality. And some of them were just 3D panoramas that you could step into. But it was better, like you could just use them easier. And over time, Class VR have just done a load of updates. So now we can look at monkeys hanging off trees and things like that. Brilliant. I would probably say that our primary use them a little bit more than secondary, but they are housed in the primary building because we had to give them such a stable internet connection to get the big experiences out. And in our building, the Oak building, like there's 3 floors and the router's different on each one, and you have to have them to a stable point. So we tried with like a 5G portable router, but it just wasn't powerful enough.
No.
So they're in the STEM lab in the primary, and like I'd say teachers will take them over there, but I would say because it's in the primary, they're used more in the primary, and we're looking at when we expand the new buildings, getting another set for that'll be more used for secondary. And then now last year we started to use ThingLink, where you could just build your own, and you can. And the great thing about the ThingLink was, I just spoke to ThingLink, and they were like, oh, by the way, you can just drag and drop that into Class VR. So we started making some. So some examples would be when we're teaching Charles Dickens. I made with the English teachers some immersive things where they could go through some rooms and learn about Victorian England, because they're Romanian. They need a bit more context. 80% of our kids are Romanian. The others are Turkish, Lebanese. We've only got like a few Brits. So there's not much. There's not much like, let's talk about Victorian England. They're like, what's that? What's a Victorian Christmas? Romanian Christmas and a traditional British Christmas. The chalk and cheese are very, very different. So doing that, and then we did one about the Industrial Revolution. We did that with Charles Dickens, and then we also did one for Animal Farm as well as a bit cool. Because obviously being in Romania, they've got a little bit more about communism to dig into, but knowing about Russia and that background and history, because it's quite in depth, and you probably don't. Some of that's in the AS and A level curriculum, so you wouldn't really go through that background. So we did that, and then now we've rewritten the curriculum. So my year 7, my little babies will be making because the thing link's super easy. They're going to make their thing links. They're going to make themselves, make the tags. Fantastic. So their job is tail end of next term. So probably around just before Easter, they'll be making their own thing links linked to the curriculum. And people will be experiencing them. I can imagine they'd then want to use them. So usage might go up a little bit. If you want to experience it. So that's really fun. And
have you tried the 360 cameras with ThingLink as well?
We haven't yet. We don't actually have one that's on my shopping list because I've realized we could do our virtual tour of the school quite easily with ThingLink.
Yeah, so that's what I've used it for.
I'm just finishing. I keep telling the people from ThingLink I'm going to do the course, and I keep being busy. So my plan. We've actually for this year got a 3-week Christmas, which never happens. So I'm going to do the course during that Christmas break because I know they've updated the platform a lot. Yeah. But even the unit we're doing now on Canva, we've been teaching the kids how to do the magic media and prompt properly for the AI media. We blocked all the other Canva stuff so they can't write because like that opens up another can of worms if you've given the kids AI writing tools. So we've just done the images. And so they should have a good grounding in how to prompt to get the backgrounds. But then the main thing is they're going to be doing the tags, writing the content themselves, maybe generating a picture in Canva and putting that in. Brilliant. But, so then we can touch on copyright. We can touch on AI literacy. We can touch upon like disclosing that it's AI and things like that. So even though it's, we're just building these things in so they naturally just like, you can naturally have these conversations as you go through the curriculum instead of like, we're going to do today's lesson on copyright. We're going to do today's, like you could just build it in as you go.
Yeah,
that's in terms of like curriculum, like design though, and designing the content, that does seem quite forward thinking and innovative. Compared
we just sat down. I sat down last year and chucked the old books away and was like, I'm going to write it myself. And we just did everything I had to have it ready by January, so that was a push. And I got the first one done by like October, and then I didn't do anything. Life happened, and then I had to write them all before the end of January. So and then all we're finding now is we're delivering them, and as I'm going through, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just making notes and going, okay, this doesn't work. Because everything sounds great on paper, and because they had to be printed and made into books and things like that, I had to have read so far in advance. Whereas probably what I would have done is probably teach it all through once and then compile it into a book. But I had to do it the way I had to do it this way for the school because we have also for Key Stage 3 got a subscription with a chatbot company. So every unit has a bespoke chatbot that goes along with it. And what I've done is, before people panic about answers and
love this.
What I've done is essentially taken the worksheets and directed them to resources and put that in a bot. So for Canva, for example, instead of going, my audience is on a worksheet, they will tell the bot what the audience is. And they'll tell the bot what colors they're going to use. Instead of writing a worksheet, they're just telling the chatbot. And then the chatbot can do the self-assessment with them that would have been on paper, and then can bring it to life and go, okay, you've got 5 lessons to do this. What would you like to make? You've got to pick between a poster, a social media, or a video. Okay, where are you at? Where are you at with text? Where are you at with this? And it would just take that self-assessment and digitize it. And then it can go, okay, I think in 5 lessons, these are the skills you need to build. So, and then it will suggest a practice project for them to do out of random. Lots of kids got cosmic cereal for some reason, so maybe I didn't prompt it to do random. And then they've just done for two lessons skills building. Whereas if they got stuck, the chatbot would go, how do I do text on Canva? And I give it all the Canva tutorials I could find and turn them into knowledge bank for it. So we go, okay, you need to click on this symbol. You need to click here. How do I remove the background? You need to go to the magic background removal. Look for this. Look for this. So all it was doing is that it's not giving them answers. All it's doing is when they get stuck, go here, go here, go here. And then we were going to move on to the final project. And then I was like, they're not very good at audience. So I then went into Canva Code myself and made a quick little app where they would type in the cosmic cereal, we'd scroll down, and then it would have 2 cards, your new audience and your new style.
Amazing.
And then it would okay, cosmic cereal is now for pensioners, and it needs to be techie. And that doesn't make any sense. It's like sometimes a design brief doesn't make sense. I get given tasks at my job here, guys, that don't make sense to me sometimes. But my boss has told me, your clients told you, cosmic cereal is now for techie pensioners.
That is absolutely incredible.
To redesign your draft for techie pensioners. And they absolutely loved it. And
that is so... That's so cool.
How am I going to do this? But when they did it, they were like, yeah, I've done it.
Matthew, like, I don't think we've really that's so forward thinking and innovative. I've not spoken to any other schools that are actually integrating bespoke chatbots into the curriculum guidance. Like, that's I will for my own to cover myself. This is with a safe, secure company. They're not going to ChatGPT. We have DPAs, we have DPIAs. We've worked with DPO. We've got all. I've just said a lot of acronyms. I told you, British. Yeah.
But we've done everything. It's safe. We can see the security, oversight. I can see every conversation. When a blessed little angel in my year 7 class was off sick for the day and decided he was going to start swearing at the chatbot at home. I had a message within 30 seconds telling me he was doing that. It's open during the school hours, but because it was school hours, but he just happened to be at home. Decided to start saying all sorts to it. But I was getting those notifications and
brilliant
parent. So
that's phenomenal.
Pick a safe platform is what I'm saying if you're going to do it.
So in terms of like AI, because obviously like we love talking about AI, but I've noticed as well on your on LinkedIn and you are posting a lot of content around AI and around the kind of I suppose the governance of it and the nervousness that schools and parents.
Well, this is the thing. Because I started using it it came out in November and we hit it always happens in Romania. We hit some wait lists, so I was waiting for a while. I think I got on about December. Then I came in really excited and then got staff to sign up in January. And then we hit waitlist because it kind of blew up that December. And then eventually we came back in the August and we had Copilot Enterprise built in. And I know Copilot isn't the greatest, but it depends. You don't need a frontier model to plan a British curriculum geography lesson. I'm being completely honest. You don't need to be cutting the bleeding edge of AI to help it plan a lesson or do some retrieval practice questions or something like that, in my opinion. And then as things have evolved, we've got Canva, AI tools in that now, but it's all, and then we're trying to become a Google Workspace, trying to get that approved. We've done the paperwork for that, so we can have Notebook LM for teachers first, potentially A-level students or maybe down the line, just give access to Gemini for the teachers as well. But over time, I've always been cautious, from the beginning, and there was no wild experiments, everything, because I'm blessed and I understand the situation because I'm on SLT at a school, which has meant that I could push through. And I speak to a lot of teachers and they're behind or they're same as passionate as me, but they're just a teacher and their SLT isn't listening. So I understand that I've got that leg up.
Yeah, you have.
And I can imagine for me, I would have hit the same because even at the beginning, I was like, hey guys, it's going to be operating systems and WhatsApp soon. And no, it's not. This is all going to go away.
Yeah.
And then eventually, after 6 months of going that thing that crazy guy told us is going to happen happened. And,
Matthew wasn't talking nonsense.
Eventually they started to listen, and being teaching and learning, I already had all the heads of department coming to me, so I could just reinforce it naturally through those connections. And then just over time because again, I'll go back, because they were cautious and they were doing chatbots and doing AI and they were I was treaded very carefully because I didn't want to kill the dream. I wanted everything to be correct by the books. I didn't want it. I went with a company that was one of the first out there that had the conversation history, which other platforms didn't have, because I didn't want something to go wrong or a safeguarding thing to happen and that come back on me and AI's out the school.
Yes.
So always very cautiously. And then over time, I've done research, and I did the AI governance professional course last year, just because I wanted, because I don't have a qualification in AI, so, or governance. So I thought, let me do the one that data professionals do. Immediately regretted it because it's an incredibly hard course.
I can imagine.
And having no legal data policy background, it was a lot of just late night cramming.
Jargon.
Sure.
We've got the day job and the kids and wife and a life somewhere in all of this. So we did that just in as part of then get on to do some training for staff around the EU stuff, because that's going to hit us. And that's mainly been out of my own personal interest, the EU AI Act, because I know it's going to impact how I do AI at my school.
Oh, yeah. Well, tell us about that. Can you tell us a wee bit more about that?
Yeah,
please?
It's just about the main thing that's going to hit us. The way we're doing it is going to be the transparency rules, mainly around things like deep fakes. So if we generated an image of Henry VIII, really, we should, or like a real person, and that was used in a lesson, then really we should making that clear to students it's AI. If they're talking to a chatbot, they should know it's AI. Like it should say this is an AI chatbot on the top. The tool we use does. And even though like even the images I make of the bots on the thing look like, you know, the typical AI, like a little robot and things like that. So
they don't look like real people.
So there's stuff around transparency, about text, and there's some stuff about text, but it says public interest. And so it's mainly if I was going to write newspaper articles, but there's some caveats about ownership. And that's one of the been part of the training of like, okay, teachers, if you created a set of questions and the AI made them and they were wrong, then that's on you. Sorry, that's, you can't go, well, ChatGPT or Copilot or Gemini. Like, sorry, that's on you as the teacher. You've made a decision to put that resource. And then some areas are high risk. So admissions. So if we got an AI tool in to filter, or suddenly we found out that our admissions team were putting people's applications through Copilot or ChatGPT and asking who should we pick out of these, that would be high risk. So it doesn't have to be a system you buy in. They could.
Sure.
That's the problem. AI systems, when the act was originally written, you would go to a company, they'd train a model for you, they'd give it to you as a tool. Now everyone's got an AI model online, usually for free. So people can go like, the AI governance should be values, use, all online, ducks in a row, check, approved. Now AI governance just went, everyone's got ChatGPT, everyone's getting free tools, everyone's so and then marking. So if you use it to grade, that's an area of high risk. So
especially if it's got student details on.
So it runs inside with GDPR. So if I bought a system and it was making, the one thing that isn't clear right now, because they're going to produce the final guidance in Feb, and there was an open thing you could fill out, and it was like outcomes that steer the learning process. And that, for me, that could mean is that if it gave interim feedback, or is that if it gave a final grade. And that wasn't, you could take judge learning outcomes and to steer those learning outcomes, steer the trajectory. I could probably interpret that 15 different ways depending on the day. So the final guidance will be out in Feb, but mainly in my mind, I try to think that AI is making the final grade, because for our students, unlike the UK, every grade that they get internally goes on that academic transcript. And when they apply to university, that transcript goes, it's not just the AS and A level. They have to take their full year 10 to 13, what every single grade they got goes with. And that can impact university application. So if I was using an AI and it gave them a bum grade in year 10, and actually they should have got an A and they got a B or a C, and that makes or breaks getting into university, that's a big deal. And so I think we have that a little bit more pressure on those internal grades that doesn't exist traditionally in the UK. I had to get used to that when I moved over here, that every single assessment I give that's official that goes into our system goes on those kids' transcripts. And even in the actual Romanian system, they look at every grade from like year 1 to year 13. But if they go to Romanian university, for example, where it's mainly year 10 and up for the kids who are going internationally to study.
So in terms of like parent feedback, pupil feedback, like staff feedback, what's that been like? And
so Let's go with parents first, because that's a tricky one. We've just been open with them and done webinars and spoke to them and been transparent and said, okay, we've got the curriculum. Yeah. This is what we intend to do. And just kind of looking at those, the OECD AI literacy framework, those stats at the front. Yeah. Would you rather that your children learn it from TikTok, or would you rather they learn it from us? And what we are going to do is show them how to use it productively if they need help. Like if they get to a point. Yeah. It's like I saw someone doing a conference I was at the other day, and I did a version of it way back, and I think it's just internalized in me. It's like 3 before me. It's like book, buddy, bot, and then boss, where I don't like the boss thing for teacher, but you know the idea that and that's where it came from for me, the using the bots, because I was dealing with my year 13s, and their code can be like 250 lines long. Yeah. So if one's got an error and I sit down and I have to read 250 lines to help them, there's another kid who's got 250 lines who's also got an error. He's waiting 10 minutes for me. So if I got the first chatbot was, and it took a little while to prompt it, where it would never give code, but it would say, hey, maybe you should check out your function headers, or maybe you should check out your syntax around this section of the code.
Yeah,
check it like I would. But it just meant I didn't have that bottleneck of a 18-year-old waiting 15 minutes for me, and I've only got a 45-minute lesson.
Brilliant.
So that's what I've tried to do with the year 7s and 8s and 9s, is that if there's like a low-level bottleneck that you don't know how to insert text, which they can do that, and I can deal with like that's the low-hanging fruit for me. And if I can direct them that, or what would they done traditionally? Gone to a YouTube video, gone to a worksheet, gone to back in the day when I started teaching, I was making pages and pages of guides with little red boxes and arrows and things like that. That can be taken. That can be automated in the background for me now, of directing the useful. And then we did the same for Microbit for the first unit. Microbit's got tons of tutorials. Yeah. So all it did was go, oh, you want to build an app that's for a pet thing, or this or that? And they chose their interest. So, okay, I mapped all the tutorials into the bot. So I said, you should probably do this tutorial followed by this one and this one. So all the kids went and did then was go and did those tutorials. And if they got stuck, asked for a bit of help and got a bit of feedback on their code if something didn't work. But all I was doing is all the bots was doing is what I would do is just go directing them in different directions based on their need at the time. And that's what I'm doing with Canva. And that's what I'm going to do all year, is just I'm basically pointing them in direction of cool things that will help them.
So many, think how many as a teacher, how many times have we heard the phrase or thought the thought, I just wish there was another 5 of me in this room right now. And and that's something that every educator will be able to relate to, the idea that you just don't have enough time.
It might seem like bold, but I just think I've taken all of the worksheets I would make, all of the self-assessments I would make, all of the guides I would make, and I've pulled them into something that's responsive and will activate a part of my walkthrough or when it's needed. And I've spent time writing this big long prompt that covers everything. Test it. So I've probably done the same amount of time writing the prompt, but all I've done, instead of like making a resource for each lesson, I've just front loaded the effort. And now for year 7 class, I just turn up and I'm like, everything's ready to go. You've got Canva, you've got Microbit, you've got this. And I just circulate and help. Do a start, go.
Phenomenal.
Like, go. Off you go. You're independent.
And actually, I think it's really interesting that so I think educators listening to this will be like, well, that's way beyond my level of expertise.
Well, I'm just thinking
and it's totally not, because Gems and Gemini and custom GPTs essentially allow you to make your own AI.
Yeah, but I would say with custom GPT, that's not school safe.
No.
Chat GPT itself. But if you're in Google, if you're a Google school and you can get a gem and it's in your workspace, and you can, I think you can set. We're not there yet, so I can't see the back end. But I believe you can assign them in Google Classroom to a task. So you can, here's a task, here's a gem assigned to it.
Yeah.
Or there's tools out there that exist where they've got the back end, they've got the safeguarding flags, they've got a transcript.
Yeah.
You usually have to pay for them, to be honest, if you want a decent version. But I think if you want to do it, sometimes, like if it's free You know the old saying, like, you're the data, really. You're the resource if it's free. So we're paying for the bot, but I think it's an investment that's worthwhile. And most of the companies out there, if you take the cost of hours, was paying something like $20 to $30 per student per year, not per month, per year. So I would pay that for me personally. So it adds up if you've got 900 students. It sounds like a lot. But like if it's and for a state school, that might be a huge amount of money. So there probably will be things through Copilot you could do. But I believe Copilot's 13 and up only, where you can make an agent. But I think because we need to, I need to see the terms when they come through for us. I believe that Gemini is kind of good to go all the way down.
Gemini is absolutely.
But I know the only thing about Gemini is that the oversight and those flags sit at the admin level, so they would sit with our IT manager. I, as a teacher, can't see them. That's the only sticking point for me.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Which would mean that I would probably have to circulate more like a hawk in class.
Yes.
Or if it was outside use.
I guess there's maybe opportunities to automate that, though, I suppose.
Yeah,
isn't
there
there?
is.
Like,
and I think that's the only thing I would recommend to Google. If anyone from Google's listening, is if you could nudge that level back down from the admin level to the teacher level.
Yeah, like
that would be absolutely amazing. That would be perfect.
Yeah.
It just needs to. I go with what we've got because I've got the peace of mind. If a little angel wants to swear at it at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday at home when they're not in front of me, I know within 30 seconds and I can call the parent.
Yeah.
If I was doing that with Google right now, an admin might get a notice, might check that the next day, and then you know what I mean. Like, and that could not be a kid swearing. That could be saying I hate myself. That could be saying I'm depressed. That's the thing for me, the safeguarding side, where I want that immediacy if something's gone off the rails.
And what is the name? We don't have any like affiliation to anyone. We're totally independent. But what is this company that?
So I use a company called Mindjoy. They're South African based. So they use ChatGPT called Gemini. To be transparent, that means your data sits in servers in America. So that's where you do your DPAs and your DPIAs, and do your thing on that, your due diligence on that, and make sure your safety is in place. You can use your Magic Schools and School AIs. Those ones, I'd never quite understand where like they're not GDPR. I don't know where they sit somewhere between they got FERPA copper, but most of the time if you're using that API, the data's not training the model. You just want to make sure what they're doing at your level in terms of, you know what I mean, if Scott Matthew Wemyss has chatted with the bot and that conversation sitting in School AI's or Magic School system, you just want to have your due diligence there. If you could delete that data. But I like most of the time the API is not, because once it's in an AI model, you can't really get it out because it comes to statistic. Sure. Whereas if it's saved in their database, you just need to make sure you've got an agreement with them that you can get that out, I would think, and just check in.
And that's like
and I would say if you're a teacher listening to me, don't go and sign up to a free trial of Mindjoy or School Air.
No.
Go and speak to someone at your school who know what you're doing before you go and
I guess that's
make a chatbot.
But that's the world we're in just now, isn't it? Like we're in this kind of funny, like as like policy and procedures and legalities catch up with the technology, we're in this kind of Wild West sort of scenario.
I was at a conference the other day and I was speaking to a room of people who were digital leaders. Assistant directors of digital, deputy directors in charge of digital. Close your eyes. I did the old kids thing. Everyone close your eyes, put your hands up. If you're 90% sure of what your tools your teachers are using in your school, and out of a room of like 55 people, one person put their hand up. And that is me preaching to the choir. I was like,
they're converted.
And my plan was to do like the old Gemini camera thing where I got Gemini on the camera to tell me how many their hands up. And then my point there was I just carried on talking and then I stopped a couple of minutes later. It's like, does no one have any questions for me? They're like, no. What's it? Was like, does anyone want to ask where I just sent all your pictures to when I did the live camera review? I was like, don't worry, it's through my private workspace, so it's enterprise. Well, no one asked me what I did with all your faces, Joss. No one asked me what I did with all, like, the pages, your laptop screens that are facing me that are now in, like, they've got your school email addresses. You know what I mean? Like I said, no one's asked me about the data. And then I did like a survey thing that I built myself. I did a bit of vibe coding and replaced the live interaction stuff was through a platform I'd made. I said, anyone ask me a question about where that data's going, or if I'm storing that, or if I collected your IP addresses?
I just had thought.
You just don't think. You just do it. And like you go to a webinar, you hear someone doing chatbots, and then they go off and do it. No one in the school knows. And if it goes, and if you've got a school where, God forbid, a kid starts chatting about suicide or hating themselves or bullying, and something slips under the radar, then you as the school, you take all the responsibility and you've got zero oversight. And that's my concern. That for me, people ask me if they're behind. I'm a behind on AI. I'm a behind. I'm like, you're only behind if you don't have at least a statement that's gone out to people to tell them what they can and can't do with AI. At least you've told them you're not using free ChatGPT. You can use it, but you can't put personal details in. Or we're saying as an institution, you all use Copilot, you all use this, you all by professional use, update your AUP, just do something, if you know what I mean? Like just get some structure in place. So you haven't got like, and I said this before to people, I would be a school's worst nightmare if you employed me and there was zero oversight. I'd be doing all the tricks, all the tools. I would have chatbots running and you wouldn't know about it. I'd be doing Notebook LM, and maybe I wasn't aware of the age ranges, so I was getting everyone to create Google accounts and signing them up. You'd have no idea, but you'd have all of the responsibility.
Yeah, that's the challenge, isn't it, for education? Because so many educators we speak to are kind of frustrated by what they can't do and the tools that they're not allowed to use. But at the same time, these responsibilities... You've got to balance everything.
I don't believe in a complete ban, but I think I would start, again, like I'm far down the line. I've been using it for 3 years, and I started using chatbots after about a year. I would say to a school that you need to get your staff used to it, trained. Before you put, even for me that got into this, I was doing little bits of training on prompting people online, did it at my school, all that kind of stuff. The first lesson I put a chat bot in front of students, I was it's like my first PGC lesson. I was like, it was so nerve-wracking because I was like, what's going to happen? So I think you really need to know, and you really need to have gone through the ringer and found out what can go right and wrong when you tap to Copilot, and what can go wrong when you chat to these tools and things like that, and how they can give you wrong answers and how you prompt against that, and really build up that set of skills first. And before you put anything in front of students, you've got to have a strong core of your teachers. Otherwise, they like it.
You're just setting them up.
My rule of thumb is if the chatbot works roughly the same way 10 times in a row, and that means it would be consistent for most students and they get pretty much the same experience, then I've done a good job. But that means that I've had to do the self-assessment, pretend I've done a project. I have to do that 10 times to check, but that's time. But then when I know it runs, that means I've got 6 45-minute lessons where the kids can be independent. So it's the trade-off of time.
Brilliant.
Yeah, no, but it's a massive benefit, isn't it? Like the time benefit.
Over time, you get better and you refine, and you know that you get some prompts that work. And I can take my revision bot prompt or my chatbot Python code bot and take parts of that and move this in and put this in. Like you end up just building up new bots out of parts of other bots that you've written. But I would just say I would say pace that out. So that should be, most schools will say that should be like year 2 of your journey, or even year 3 if you need it. But it shouldn't be the
not
first
week
step.
3.
Shouldn't be here's AI in front of kids. That for my mind would be a recipe for disaster, especially if no one knew you were doing it.
Yes.
So you've spent all these years researching and learning and developing your own practice. I know you've got your website, which is inanded.com. And I know you've got your books as well that are on there. Stories. I know you can tell I work in primary school.
He's a primary teacher.
I don't think your kids would like them if you read them before they went to bed.
No.
I think my 4 and 7-year-old would like them.
So I would love to hear more about your books and how you went around creating these books and kind of the inspiration for. I can see on your website you've got the 3.
The first one was by happenstance because I actually got given my first long speaking gig at Brilliant Festival, which takes place in Liverpool. So I did that last October. So they gave me 50 minutes, which I'd never done more than 15 before. So I was like, did the typical, I've been to keynotes, like everyone gives something away. So I made like a guide, and then people were asking, because it is a PDF, and people were asking for something physical. So then I was like, okay, like you can print it. I'm like, but then I went back and saw that people had like asked a few people that I'd seen that had self-published, and I was like, okay, so I got the Kindle direct publishing stuff. I just repurposed that content, so that's on Amazon, but it's brilliant. I don't make any. I think I make 10p or something, but like I just put it. I'd already given it away for free, so I'm not now going to charge 20 quid for something that you could download for free.
Sure.
So from Gumroad or something like that. So I just put that at the same price, and then I started working on one for students, because it was like what I feel should be said or should be given to students, which was like, okay, here's all the stuff you need to know about ages and conditions. Here's stuff you need to know about your data. Here's stuff you need to know how to prompt. And here's the stuff if you're 14, here's the conversation you should be having with your parents for the parental disclosure stuff. And then just some stuff like, here's 5 different levels of how you can use AI to help your learning, not because again, it's that thing like, are they going to learn it from TikTok or are they going to learn it from us? I don't think many. I think more teachers have bought. I don't think any students have bought the book. I think teachers have bought that one because it's a bit longer and a bit more in depth than the first one. But it's just I just thought I want to write something which actually gives a bit of structure to students, and most of those prompts actually form the basis of the chatbots that I use, because they're all about guidance. They're all about debating, coaching, and things like that, and try to steal away from role play. I think again in that one, the tricky gray area of like, it's called, like, someone coined the term digital necromancy, me bringing Henry VIII back in
that's a great
form. Is that fine? When's the statute of limitations on that? Is Henry VIII fair game? Okay. But if I did the Queen Elizabeth, like, would that be fair game? Like me to reincarnate her as a bot? Or if someone, like, when is it okay to bring someone back from the dead as a chatbot, historical chatbot? So I then tried to veer off, or when writing the book, I was like, actually, I'm going to make it more about a medieval, someone who was from the time, not a fictional character specific from the time, not a person. Because I was like, I'm not reincarnating Henry VIII, and like, I'm not. Because that's the only thing as well, which, to loop back to the EU stuff, where I think we've gone a step further with our stuff in the school, is we've gone like, okay, deepfake text, which is a weird phrase, but like, if I'm now doing the diary of Henry VIII that's been generated by Copilot, that's not really Henry VIII's words. I should probably tell the kids that, because they might quote that later in life. Henry VIII used to say, or, you know, the old saying that happened, like the trenches, the song they used to sing, the trenches, and it was like generated, or the character was like, to know that actually, if it's a primary source, we label that for kids. And that's where I sit with, if you've got, my daughter's into Mary Anning, they're doing her in primary. So if I got a Mary Anning chatbot to talk to her, is she going to think that's what Mary Anning said? Where really it wasn't. Where if I said it's an archaeologist from a time, or did the character like that person, and they know it's a bot and they know it's an approximation, that's different, I think, than going, this actually a real, attributing something to a real person is where you get like in tricky, like if I got a Freddie Mercury bot and things like, you know what I mean? Like you could hit some nerves on that one. So that one we tried to do like a singer or a character, if you know what I mean?
Someone
like
generic.
Sure. So and make it clear it's an AI. It's not actually the words of a person.
Yeah, that's really good. So the books are AI in education, an educator's guide, a student's guide,
and the student's guide. And then there's one on the EU AI, which I kind of wrote as I was going through the act myself and breaking it down, and tried to just like go put a bit of flavor on top of it, of like, okay, they're saying this, and this is why I'm going to do. And I made it clear I'm not a lawyer. I got it checked by a lawyer before I put it out.
Lawyer reviewed.
I did get a lawyer to check it for me before I put it out, to make sure it was aligned. And I've checked it with a few more since, and a few people working doing entrepreneurship and developing AI, just to check them on the right lines and the advice I'm giving to people. But I make it clear I'm not a lawyer, and same for everything. I'm not a GDPR. Go check with your DPO. Go check with the relevant person. It's there as like a guide. I'd mainly say most of the stuff that's in it for free online anyway, so it's up to me. Like, I have a day job. Fair. I've got nothing really.
Exactly.
I'm not retiring off my book sales.
But do you know what I think? I don't think I've spoken to many people though who've got this kind of like depth of experience in terms of deploying AI in a school setting and using it with children like that. This is like, if people want to get in touch with you, Matthew, do you do like consultancy?
I do. It's tricky because I teach full time, but I'm sometimes at the event I was at, it was my half terms are sometimes out of sync with the UK, so that kind of works sometimes. Online's easy for me. I know that doesn't work for all the trainings, but online's pretty good for me.
I just think you bring a unique
my day's finished
perspective.
at 5. Usually at 5 o'clock for me, it's 3 o'clock from the UK, so it kind of works most of the time. I try my best. If I can help, I'll try my best to help.
It's the I think for me, it's the practical like process that you've been through in terms of thinking through the governance, but also finding tools and deploying them in a school. Like that's quite,
that's
future
I sometimes feel like now I think sometimes I need to work on this, because I sometimes think on LinkedIn now I'm a bit of a party pooper, because someone does something like develops a vibe code app. It's like, maybe you should probably think about your student data.
We've all been into
that person. A database, and maybe like it's cool, but like maybe you need to think about. And then, I try to keep it light, but sometimes I'm just like, because I think it has AI as a place in education. That's developing all the time, like depending on what news article you read on what day.
Yes.
But I don't want anyone to be the next headline, if you know what I mean.
No, absolutely.
School X did Y, or this did this. School's data leaked from a vibe coded AI thing, and suddenly no school in the world can that suddenly the coding thing that teachers are working on, like and doing it safely, suddenly gets rug pulled. It's all about the bigger picture for me. Like I don't want to see those headlines. And if I can reach out to somebody and say like, hey, maybe let's have a chat, maybe let's like do that. And I don't know everything. I reach out to people and go, I've got this blank spot. I'm working in Google Workspace, but I'm working in my like one I had to set up to create my website and stuff like that to get it hosted. And that came with it, so I'm just using it because it's secure. But I don't have access to the education one. So if someone asks me on that, I reach out to someone I know in Australia or Dubai and say like, can you help me? I've got a bit of a blind spot here because I can't actually see that. And I don't know everything. If I can't find anything, my thing is I always say this to my kids, if I don't know it in class, if I can't give the answer, I guarantee when I see you tomorrow, I will. I'll have the answer for you.
Brilliant. Great.
Exactly. And the key message, I think, for everyone listening to this episode is that, like, your approach to governance and everything, whilst it's there and you're thinking about all the data protection and all the rest of it, there's a kind of human-centered, like, sensible...
Once you've done that, once you've done your checks and someone knows, like, if you've told your assistant director or deputy, whoever's in charge, and they've done the check, doing the DPO checks and DPAIA, there's usually someone that's going to take care of that for you and tell you, do the risk assessment for you as a teacher, making sure someone's aware, and then doing the fun stuff, and then work and being open, but doing the fun stuff safely and open and transparently. That's if you do it, like, I don't want to do anything. You wouldn't do anything else in the dark. You wouldn't teach sex education or PSHE or like drugs or alcohol or those other big societal things that you teach. You wouldn't do those under the radar. You don't sneak fractions off into the background. You know what I mean? It's just about being open about everything.
But that's what I loved. That's what I loved about your kind of recent LinkedIn post. So, like, I was reading one about the AI insights on Ofsted's view of AI, and a lot of it was just very kind of sensible. You know, have a policy. Have a statement that says we have discussed this as a school and this is what our policy is.
I like to keep things incredibly simple, which means I have to do probably, and I use this analogy with like the internet when I teach it. For us to be talking right now on the internet, it's an incredibly complicated process.
Yes.
But it seems simple. So I do all that incredibly complicated process of all the checks and all the balances and all that work with the DPO and getting everything approved, so it looks smooth and everything. And once you've got that done, it's all about, to be honest, fun is at the heart of it. I wouldn't be doing this if I wasn't having fun,
yeah,
if I wasn't interested. But I also, at the same time, don't want to mess it up. And that's the balance.
That's the balance, isn't
absolutely.
it? Matthew, listen, this has been brilliant. I have loved chatting to you tonight. It really,
massively so.
Honestly, it's been a pleasure and a privilege, and I feel like we could probably go on for another hour. But yeah, it's been great. And we'll make sure we share all the links to your stuff, your books, in the show notes, and your contact details, because I really do think that you've got this kind of unique practical experience with AI in education that it's not easy to get. You have to actually have done it to get that. So really appreciate you taking the time tonight to talk to us.
Thank you both for asking me on. It's been great. It's been a great chat.
It has been a good chat. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of another Digitize Fully Charged podcast episode. We loved that recording with Matthew Wemyss. You can get his books on his website. His website is inanded.com. And there's a guide there for students, a handbook for students, AI in education students handbook. There's a teacher handbook, and there's also a guide to the new EU policy that's coming out too. Matthew really spoke with passion and interest and real experience, and I think that's the difference. It was that experience of deploying AI in his school and refining the curriculum to suit this kind of world that we're in now. So thanks for listening. Remember, it means a huge amount to us if you can share this podcast. If you subscribe to YouTube, I don't know, take a selfie of you listening to it, share it with your educator pals. It makes a huge difference to myself and Niall when we see the listener numbers going up, I guess. But we do this for fun. Thanks very much for supporting us. You can reach out to us on socials. We're at Digitize Crew in most places, and we'll see you next time.